Dylan Allen here from Allen Endurance Coaching. Today, we're talking about repeats. What are they? What do they do? How to use them? What to not use them for? Here we go. So don't forget to hit the subscribe button and the notification bell down here in the corner. That way you don't miss any of the upcoming training talks. Also, if you haven't seen any of the other training pace talks, be sure to go back and check them. We got them all in a playlist. I'll put a link to that down below as well. So here we go. So repeats. What we're talking about when we're talking about repeats today are when we're really working our central nervous system. That's the whole goal of doing the super fast, super high turnover work. We're stressing our central nervous system. And the whole point of doing it is to make us more biomechanically efficient and to make our central nervous system a little more resilient to fatigue. It's not a ton of volume because it's really high intensity. It's really hard on your body. So if we're going too hard and we're doing too much of it, it'll catch up to you. It'll eat you up and spit you out. But it's real easy to throw just a little sprinkle of it in, just touch on it every here and there. And the way we normally do this as endurance athletes is with striders. So if you don't know what a strider is, it's kind of a nice gradual build-up, and then you're going to hold that top speed, which should feel kind of like you're riding a bike downhill, and then you're going to kind of gradually roll out of it. And the whole thing is only going to take about 15 or 20 seconds. That's it. And you're only going to hold that top speed for 5 to 8 seconds, right? So it's not enough duration to like be locking up with lactic acid or anything like that. And there's a very specific reason for this. If we got a whole bunch of lactate and acidosis going on, so we can't physically get the muscle to fire, like the muscle fiber can't go, it doesn't matter how much our brain's trying to tell our legs to go, it can't do it, right? And so we're not going to be able to supply enough stimulus, enough demand on the central nervous system to be able to get more out of it, right? And so rest and recovery is the most important part, second most important part, of a repeat workout or a repeat bout. If you're not getting enough recovery between repeats, you're not going to be able to move fast enough to stress the central nervous system. But if we clear all the metabolic waste from working anaerobically between each one, so if our strider is 15 seconds long, we're taking at least 45 seconds of recovery, then it allows us enough time to flush all the metabolic waste products. It allows those muscle fibers to completely reset with anaerobic fuel. That way we can go at full capacity and actually put some strain on our central nervous system. And so in order to go faster, what that means is our central nervous system is going to have to recruit more muscle fibers at once, right? It's going to have to coordinate all those muscular contractions so that they're working together to move faster and generate more power. There's a difference here between speed and power. They're related. The more power you can generate, the faster you can go, and the more speed you're getting on your legs, like the faster you're getting those muscles to contract. Generally speaking, the more power you're going to be able to output in terms of, power into the ground from your foot. But they are different things. Repeats are about speed and anaerobic power. And so it's really about fine-tuning that central nervous system to be able to recruit all your muscle fibers all at once to generate maximum power. And with maximum power, maximum speed. So there's a big difference between like a 1 rep max, like if you're doing bench press or squat, maximum power, right? But if we got maximum speed, generally it's going to be at a lighter resistance, but we're really explosive, right? Where it's all about acceleration, not about maximum power output. And I realized if we were getting really kind of start to talk about physics here and not necessarily physiology. But when we're talking about repeats, physics starts to come into play. That's why we do it. So we're more biomechanically, more physically, in terms of physics, physically efficient. And for us endurance athletes, that's why we do it, because efficiency is the name of the game. The more biomechanically efficient we are, the more we're going to be able to do before we run out of fuel. The more fuel efficient we're going to be, because it takes us less energy to go a mile or 100 meters or however far we're going. You know, per each step takes less energy for the amount of ground we're covering if we're biomechanically efficient, right? So, as endurance athletes, that sounds pretty good. We want to be efficient, that way we can stretch those precious glycogen reserves as far as possible. So, the nitty gritty, work to rest ratio, generally you want to take at least 2 to 3 times the amount of time in rest that you spent working. So if you're, let's say we're really fast and we're doing 400-meter repeats, true repeats, working super high top end, and we can get them done in a minute. So that's really fast for most of us endurance folks that are adults with functional lives. Most of us haven't run, if we have ever run that fast, it was like when we were in high school, maybe college. But it makes for nice round numbers. So for the purpose of this example, that's what we're going to use. So let's say it takes us a minute to do that 400-meter repeat. We want to take at least 2 to 3 minutes of recovery between them. And that doesn't mean easy running. That means active recovery. That means a shuffle or a walk, moving, so we're not just sitting still, but recovery. If you are doing like easy running between it and not like a shuffle jog or walking, you might want to stretch it out a little further. For every minute we spend working, we want to spend at least 2 to 3 minutes of recovery. This is why if you watch sprinters working, true speed power athletes, they're working really hard. The majority of their workout on the track is spent working their central nervous system. And they will work really hard for 10, 20, 30, 45 seconds, not normally a minute. If they're like maybe 400, 800 people, they might be doing some minute-long bouts. But then they can take anywhere 5, 10 minutes recovery between efforts. And the reason why is so that they can allow their body to completely reset so they can hit the next one hard. Because if you can't hit the next one hard enough, just like with the intervals and threshold repeats, if you're not going hard enough to get above that minimum threshold for the stimulus, you're not going to get anything out of that repeat. And the objective of the workout is to spend as much time as possible over that threshold. That way we can get as much stimulus as possible so we can get as much improvement as possible. It should be a really small percentage of the total weekly volume. Seriously, no more than 5% of your weekly volume. Otherwise, you're going to end up getting hurt. If you're doing it every day, you can do it once, twice, but you'll have to pay the butcher's bill eventually. Which is why for a lot of us endurance athletes, we get the majority of our quote-unquote repeat work done by doing striders a couple times a week, or hill sprints at the tail end of the run a couple times a week, where you're going for 10, 20, 30 seconds tops. But that's because we're working at that really high intensity. How often do you do striders? Do you incorporate repeats into your training regime in other ways? How do you do it? Are you one of those folks that no matter what, you're doing a hard 400-meter repeats, super fast, a couple times a week or once a week, no matter what? Let me know. Comment in the comments below. If you got any questions, things you want to hear about in upcoming training talks, well, let me know, because I'd much rather make training talks about what you want to hear about. If you got questions, I want to answer them instead of talking about something that nobody cares about. Till next time, train smart.